All right, welcome to Leadership Series. This is another episode of a STEM to Innovate's initiative of Leadership Series, which started almost 2 years ago. The goal is to empower our community members, highlight all of the great things happening in the community, outside of community. We definitely live in a connected world, so we want to be able to highlight and build partnerships, and at the same time encourage individuals to take ownership of the practices that they're in and be able to connect with other folks. We definitely live in very much a world that is changing. We've seen the new normal already happening. We do definitely see the need to rely upon each other in terms of connecting, in terms of being inspired, inspiring others, and at the same time leveraging each other up and lifting each other up in very much difficult times. And at the same time, we want to be able to highlight wonderful things that are happening so that we can further contribute in different causes, in different perspectives that we can share. And this is definitely a platform to do that. And so I have a wonderful guest with me today, and I'm very much excited to hear his perspective on leadership because he has a lot to offer. Especially. So Nayeem Chowdhury is going to be joined with us, and he's here already. So on Leadership Series 2.0. Mr. Chowdhury has a lot of great experience, and just to give background, his family moved to New York City at the very beginning in 1989, and his dad wore many different hats also, and I think this is where some of the influence I see that on Mr. Chowdhury, on his experience as well, especially in the oil and gas industry, because his father was in the oil and gas industry, and he also has worn many hats as well in different areas. So Nayeem has lived in Sugar Land for many years, and he also graduated from Kempner High School. Currently, Mr. Chowdhury lives in Northwest Houston in Bear Creek area. He's in the Energy Corridor area where he's been HR leader as a global talent acquisition leader in the oil and gas industry, and working for many big Fortune 500 companies such as GE, oil and gas area, Siemens, AG. You got Helburn. I mean, many other areas that he's worked as an acquisition leader for global and talent and contingent workforce. Facilitates the engagement of global contingent workforce and developed solutions for acquisition and management of contractors and permanent direct hire placements for third parties, staffing agencies as well. Overall, Mr. Chowdhury is a strategic, innovative, data-driven, collaborative, global talent acquisition leader, senior HR business partner with a customer-focused, in-depth strategy and solution expertise with innovative, outside-of-box thinking in ideas in syncing with cutting-edge technologies to help resolve legacy challenges, strengthening their brand to ensure ongoing future organizational talent and staffing demands to meet and exceed and to be measured. Those are some of the areas that he focused upon. Some of the highlights that I want to highlight Mr. Chowdhury's accomplishment in his career. He received Helburn's Long-Term Incentive Stock Award, Long-Term Incentive Stock Award for 3 years in a row for program performance. Awarded Dresser Rand Siemens Exceptional Equity Award for Global Project Excellence. GE Global Reward and Recognition for acquiring high volumes for talent for hard to find talent. He's been awarded KBR's Gold Medal, filling 100% of job requisition support U.S. military in Kuwait. Awarded DB Schenker's Top Team Intern Award. Ranked number one by LinkedIn. This is huge, as the most connected individual by U.S. oil and gas segment with over 12K of high value industry domain experts. He's been participating in that area as well. Nayeem Chowdhury is a believer in the power of positive thinking in the workplace and always do everything he can to bring a big picture, visionary approach, celebrating everyone's wins and accomplishments. And at the same time, he's ready to coach, mentor, strengthens anyone's weaknesses. Otherwise, he likes to spend his free time with his friends, family, and all of Houston sports teams that he's also always been part of, and been very much involved in the sports as well. and he's very engaged with the current events right now. So without further ado, Naeem Chowdhury, welcome to Leadership Series.
Thank you very much, Kashan. You're too kind. Very happy to, and very excited to be here.
Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. This is definitely a platform to highlight some of the great things, and we want to hear your perspectives. I know we're living in very much challenging times. People calling it new normal. People are just figuring it out what to do with the time. Some people are using it wisely. Some people are just completely wasting it. I see a lot of time people, especially the youth, that they are just a bit more. Well, I guess they're also enjoying because they have a lot of time, so they're just doing a whole lot of things. So we want to hear from you as well, because you have been an HR leader. You have been a global talent acquisition leader and worked for many different 500 Fortune companies. So we want to hear your perspective as far as what should people be doing at this time, especially with the new normal, with how people need to connect with each other. What's your current perspective on the leadership, especially from
Sure. Well, coming from the HR side, I think that HR has gone through, this is something new for everybody. This is a kind of a challenging event. Going through a pandemic is something that no one was really prepared for. So as you kind of say, the new normal. So I think I kind of break it down into kind of 4 buckets. And number one thing I think is communication by the HR leaders is critical. Everyone is nervous, has a high amount of anxiety, many different things. They don't want to get sick. They don't want to lose their job. So many different things that are making people just very highly stressed. And HR leaders, their job is basically to make their employee population feel some sort of vision, direction, and a sense of security. So the number one thing is communication is critical. Is they have to be able to take the anxiety away from these people by using newer forms of communication tools, be able to help them navigate from working from home, through these different interruptions. They have to build a culture where the employees can engage from a distance. A lot of, being in oil and gas, a very old school way of thinking, you have to be on site, even though you don't see your manager, for months. I mean, just very different, level of thinking, but they have to begin leveraging technology where the traditional employee engagement is just not going to work anymore. They have to be able to use tools, to get the feeling and understanding company culture, rather than just doing employee surveys, but using artificial intelligence and be able to respond to employee sentiment like right away. One thing is rethink succession planning. What happens if a leader falls ill? Who's next in line? I mean, these things typically are not proactive, and are very reactive. But I think this gives a rethinking in the way of moving forward, is identifying critical leadership skills and deploying within a short period of time. And then also is being able to fast track what I call digital acceptance, is turn to online recruiting and virtual career fairs, mobile recruiting, talent communities. I think this will be the new norm. I mean, this is a way of thinking that we have now seeing a lot of major HR organizations within different industries are kind of shifting towards.
Absolutely, Naeem. I think you really covered on the very much key areas that digital transformation is probably the number one area that people need to start looking at, especially probably mid-sized companies. They may not have a huge HR. They probably are looking into ways to further streamline and automate their processes, especially with the usage of technology. So, Naeem, talk about what specifically individuals that are looking for jobs right now, what specific area of practice they should be looking into, how they should be standing out, and so many people that are looking for right now to connect with recruiters, with people like you specifically. So how should they stand out, specifically the college graduates, which not finding internships right now. A lot of companies have completely frozen their hiring, especially for interns as well. So what do you think about that?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'll kind of break it down in categories for job seekers during this time. First of all, like I said, this is something that we have never seen before, and a lot of people with companies are losing top talent, due to this pandemic or or even in the oil and gas industry, the drop in oil prices. If you can, my personal advice is, if you can afford to put your job search on hold, you might want to wait it out if you can afford it. A lot of people can't, because there's a lot of opportunities for people that are just not available. But that's not an option for everybody. But if you're not employed, another thing that people should think about, I think we talked about this earlier before we started, that your next job just may be a stopgap. Because right now you want something to put food on the table in the meantime, or just pay rent or pay the bills. Job seekers are of all different levels. So there's not really one paintbrush I can give, but I can say that in a time like this, you have to keep all options open. Is being able to, shift to industry, shift to function. So, using your skill sets, or just find something under the meantime until something comes up. Next thing, but networking. That's what we're talking about. So networking, but virtual networking is something that, we kind of the old school, way of thinking have to get out of. Being able to be a part of different networking groups, LinkedIn, career groups, Facebook groups, attend virtual events, work with your friends, practice virtual interviewing. Not a lot of people are, they don't even like to FaceTime when their family calls. So it's you have to be comfortable in your own skin and being able to get out there and put yourself out there. Staying in touch, reach out to former classmates, colleagues, customers, clients, hiring managers that you've worked with in the past. This is the time. And basically, one example that I'll give is that a lot of companies such as Amazon, Facebook, you can apply online all day. And I myself feel confident. I got pretty good experience. I've been applying for the last 2 years, just to get a call. But I wasn't hearing anything, and I read somewhere that they go off employee referrals. So I went on my LinkedIn, found who, I knew that worked there, good, a friend of mine. I was like, oh, he works here. Asked him to refer me for a particular position. I got a call the next day. And the same thing happened with an opportunity at Facebook. So referrals are very powerful. So make sure to know where your friends are and being able for them to, and plus it's a win-win situation. If you get hired, they make something and you get an opportunity. Another thing I'd advise is gather intel. Set up Google alerts for companies that you want to work for. Listen to like investor calls. If you do get an interview, be able to demonstrate you understand the concerns of their leadership and basically, where the company, the direction they're going. It shows you have a strong understanding of their organization. This is also a time to boost your skills. Not every time, you're at work, you have time to get a certification. You have time to take a training class, go back to school. But I mean, these are times where you can, go. I myself go to YouTube, watch, videos, webinars on things that I haven't really touched with in a long time, or things that I don't know at all, and just being up to date to modern technology and tools within global talent acquisition.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I think you really provided some key areas to cover. And I think you really touch base on that people need to be leveraging their time, maximize their potential, connect. I think the key word here is connect and network. Otherwise, we're just simply in a long haul to attain a position. I think especially we might have to try harder in today's times. I heard that recently that we are officially in recession. How do you think about that? Are we? You've seen the whole trend in the oil and gas industry. I think you're one of the experts in the oil and gas. Mm-hmm. What do you see going to be happening, especially in the oil and gas industry?
Well, as you mentioned in my intro, I'm a very positive person. I have a very positive outlook. What goes down must go up. Mm-hmm. I do feel, and I do see the price of oil, slowly climbing up. I do think that it will not be. I do feel it will not be the same. I think this industry has gone through a contraction, and kind of like one of the candidates who are running for president, Andrew Yang, was saying that everything that can be automated will be automated, and even within recruiting, they're using artificial intelligence, and you're basically going to be talking to a chatbot doing the pre-screening that a normal sourcer or recruiter does. So, within the industry, they're going to look for very, very skilled in certain areas: technology, leadership, critical thinking, problem solving. And I don't think people will be stuck to one job function. I think people will be used for multiple, or wear many hats or many functions. Working in my role, with Halliburton as a global talent acquisition leader for contingent labor, that's in partnership with supply chain. So, I mean, I think that's one of those things that I think companies going back to rethinking, when companies, rather than laying off their workforce, but rethink how to use these skill sets of their employees and create cohesive teams during times of crisis, and be able to use these, smart teams of all different, skill sets, being able to, work on, projects or items, to navigate the company through these crises.
Very well. Thanks for that perspective there, Naeem. I think you are one of the individuals people look up to when it comes to being recruited. I think a lot of individuals have their perspective. That I think just I guess traditional approach to getting hired today is not going to work for sure. I think people need to really think about ways to boost their profiles, their portfolio. LinkedIn, I think, is a great platform to connect for sure. I think there are other areas. What's going to happen to those conferences where people used to go and meet and in fact find opportunities to get connected? How's that going to turn out in your eyes?
I think a lot of them will become virtual, but that also means that going to a conference and just wearing a badge is not going to be enough anymore. You're going to have to speak.
Yeah.
So in a virtual world, you're only noticed if you're heard, and that's the thing that everybody who is introverted, to be up with the times, has to be now extroverted, because you have to tell yourself right now, everything you do online is a representation of your brand, and your brand is what LinkedIn is like your baseball card. How many home runs, what's your batting average, what do you like to do. It's your poster ad to tell an organization what value you can bring to them. So I think that these are really important, is to really focus on branding yourself, but this should be done, within a pandemic or outside of one. At the end of the day, you represent a company's brand, but at the end of the day, you are representing your own brand, which companies want to acquire. That's what the difference between talent acquisition and staffing is, because talent acquisition is acquiring top talent. Staffing is putting a warm body in a chair. You want talent and not just just staff.
Right. So I guess from the perspective of on the career path to move forward, I think what particular area that talent acquisition focuses more upon than a traditional HR or recruiting practice?
Well, I would say talent acquisition is more strategic. They basically work with leadership, understand the workforce plan, and then strategize on how to pipeline talent proactively, and basically making the process of acquiring talent from before the rec opens till the person starts. And how can you make the process quicker, better, cheaper, faster? And then on top of that is selling and working and creating an employee value proposition for talent to want to work for you. It's basically your talent acquisition is a business partner, and staffing would be more of the operation side, basically carrying out what the talent acquisition vision is.
Thanks for that perspective. I think that a lot of individuals have a bit not so much have clarity in regards to these specific areas that you covered. So I think I'm glad you mentioned that. There's definitely a very important role that talent acquisitions team specifically plays. They invest a lot, and I think you mentioned about the pipeline. I think just focusing on that pipeline to get people in and move forward in the hiring process, I think that's definitely needed. So what's your advice to the middle-sized companies that are losing individuals left and right? how should they be further retaining the talent, in today's times?
Well, I think what companies should be doing is basically working and preparing for these work shortages. They need to basically determine what essential tasks are that must be completed in the workplace, like what we would like to have and what you have to have. And basically work with and identify contract staffing services or hiring employees on a temporary basis to fill these so people can, either maintain work or identify consulting organizations or consulting companies to kind of have that stopgap during these work shortages.
Thanks for that. Really appreciate it. So, what is your perspective right now as things are changing, specifically the businesses that are opening back up? What is your key advice for individuals, especially in the business community? I know that a lot of companies, organizations are starting to have their process to get individuals back into the organization. What is your key advices for the recruiting team, the global talent acquisition teams? What is your advices for them specifically?
I mean, first thing is, depending on where the company is, what the numbers are in their region is, number one thing of what global talent acquisition is a vertical of human resources of HR. And the number one thing HR wants to do is avoid risk for the organization. Is before they start opening up, companies should instruct employees to inform their supervisors if someone's been exposed or showed symptoms of infection, and to avoid any type of litigation, have clear-cut policies and communications that are communicated and available, so all their employees, so none of this can come back to them. So I think this is very important if they do open things back up again, is that they have everything in place where the employee feels safe. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a safe environment, that puts me at risk with the worker.
What is your key advice specifically for the seniors graduating from universities right now? What is your perspective for them as far as getting into these roles, internships? What sort of skills that they need to be
sure.
acquiring?
Well, college grads, or I can start off with people. First of all, I'll start with high school grads. For high school grads, colleges and universities will allow you to defer a year, meaning you can roll your admission to 2021 if you choose to do so, kind of wait things out. But what you can do in that time is you can basically find a different type of work, working at a law practice, engineering firm, like some form of a part-time or full-time job, which can get you life experience and build connections for you in the future before you even start university. And also, you can save money for college. I think another thing that's good if you can take a year off is save money for colleges. Go to community college and knock some of your prerequisites out. So because you'll be ahead of the game before you even started. To high schools, that's for high school students. Now, for college grads, I would be basically, it's a different type of advice that I'd give them, is to be more flexible than, in what they just learned in school. Is look at, the new technology online, but just your different functions. Like a petroleum engineer can also do chemical type of work, or they could do different types of statistical work. If you're a math degree, don't be just stuck. I just studied petroleum engineering. That's all I want to do. You got to be open-minded. Lean on your school support. Go to a career advisor, talk to a counselor, find all the tools that you can find, through your university or education institution, and be able to get some guidance from them. I don't think that's leveraged enough. Focus on gaining new skills outside of school, certifications, different types of associate. Just having. This is the time to build your skills when things are slow. The bright spots are industries like communication, consumer products, biotechnology, medical supplies, and logistics are booming right now. Employers are looking for characteristics like critical thinking, leadership, decision making, research, design skills, information management. regardless of what field you're in. So if you can somehow kind of portray that to employers, that'll give. I think that will increase significant opportunities.
Thanks for that, Naeem. Really appreciate it. And I always ask all the guest members who come to the leadership series, if you were to choose few individuals that you are possibly your role models or leaders you look up to and have been inspired by, who would you be choosing, and what particular attribute of theirs that have inspired you and influenced you in your particular capacity?
On a personal basis, or just
Professional and personal. Who do you advise or been inspired by completely?
I think it was my first boss. When I used to work at a company called Aspen Technology, there was a gentleman named Paul Glova.
Mm-hmm.
This guy would come to work every day at like 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And he'd already have his workout in, everything done, and I mean, the guy was just it's just disciplined, and it's very structured. And but I kind of I try to model myself. I don't wake up at 4 a.m. like he does, but or go to the gym that early. But I mean, this gentleman, just the way he dealt with people, the communication. He would talk to the highest level of organization and to the lowest level at that time myself the same way, with utmost respect. Would listen, and you never know where people are going to be, in their careers. Someone that was, a direct report or below that, could be a CEO of your company 10 years from now.
Absolutely.
It's how you treat people, and basically what you can gain. And this gentleman was always open to teach me, answer my questions, is always make time for people, and basically, give whatever advice that you can, or direction, or whatever helped you. And I think, there's a thing called paying it forward. And I've always seen every time anyone's ever done that it's always come back.
Mm-hmm. And I guess before we close, if those individuals who want to be just like you as a global talent acquisition leader, what should they be preparing for if they are in high school and ready to get into college?
Sure. Well, it's a part of the human resources function. When I was in university, there was no HR degree. So I did political science, and I basically fell into this by accident. So now there's actual programs, universities of HR management, psychology. A lot of HR professionals take psychology, general business are good lines of work. Once you graduate, working with maybe these smaller staffing companies, or these HR leadership programs for companies where you get opportunities to work for different verticals of HR. There's HRIS, Human Resource Information Systems, HR generalists, employee relations, comp and benefits. So different verticals of HR, and talent acquisition is, one of them. So basically, to be a talent acquisition professional, you have to understand all the verticals of HR. And I think you could be at any part of it and have an overall understanding, and that will allow you to help you get in there. And that's another thing, is having to be a very out there person, because when you're recruiting, you got to talk to people, you got to sell. Being able to sell your company's value proposition, negotiate salary, but the other way, working for the company, being able to tell them and to people, and why you should be part of this organization. I think those are skill sets that are very important, and where you have to be sincere in what you're selling.
Awesome advice. Thank you, Naeem. Really appreciate it. I think you really covered some great insights, especially with your background is so huge in many specific industries, especially in the oil and gas. And you really covered some really key topics and key points that one should be leveraging in this times today. And we really appreciate those key advices. So again, thanks for those advices.
Thank you, Kashan. I appreciate it.
Thanks again. Appreciate it. We'll be connected for sure. Take care.
That's good. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so that was Nayeem Chowdhury, one of the individuals that have been really key individual for providing such great advices. I've been following him, and I've been seeing some of the great work he has done. over the years. I think individuals need to really follow his advice and listen to some of the key areas, especially that he provided in this conversation. And really, this is definitely the time that Naeem said to invest in yourself. And I think everybody should be looking into investing in themselves in this time. I was talking to other IT leader earlier, IT Perry Holmes, Sarosh, and he was also saying the same thing, that we need to be investing in ourselves as much as possible. That's one of the advices that he has also provided. And one of which is that you have to be able to listen to the influencers, some of the global leaders. What are they doing? Follow them. Follow what their what articles, what things they're publishing. I might listen to some of those podcasts. I think that's definitely one way to leverage when you're in the car. Listen to some of the key advices. Follow a particular influencer that has done some great things, and just kind of understand the footsteps that they have taken. And I think that's one way to go about it. But I would like to close on a very important reflection point here. One of which is crisis is supposed to bring humility in us, and we need to be able to listen to each other. We need to be able to have even uncomfortable conversations today, and I think that's one way to listen to each other, be empathetic listener as much as possible. We need to be embracing infinite mindset, embracing a mindset that is for change. We need to be seeing opportunities in these changes. We definitely want to have such mindset of infinite mindset, which Simon talks about it. He's in one of those great individuals that have written many books. He's an author, Simon Sinek. He Know Your Why. That's one of the books that he has written. So start reading and look up some of these topics of reflection, of way to invest in yourself. And that's what Naeem was also mentioning today, that you got to be able to deepen your skills in these specific times, to be able to connect as much as possible. And network is definitely the key point. So definitely on that note, thanks for watching. Really appreciate everybody's time and all the great feedback that we've been getting. And we have David Yaffe, who's going to be coming. He's a principal of Clements High School at Fort Bend ISD. He was gracious enough to accept our invite, and very much excited to be on the leadership series tomorrow. And we'll definitely be connected with them tomorrow at 6 p.m. So thanks again, and we'll definitely be in touch with additional guests on the leadership series. Take care. Bye-bye.